So welcome. Today is our webinar is titled Attracting High Value Clients and the Steps to Communicate Your Value. It's part of our multi-series with Loren called Positioning, Pricing, Profits, and Working with Law Firms. This is the second year that Loren and I have collaborated on these webinars. Last year we did actually third year, I take it back.
It's actually the third.
Yeah, so we've done this for a while. Now, this was not in sequence, but I want to just talk a little bit about where we are in the series. Since we're here, I'm going to introduce Loren in a second. And as mentioned, I'm one of the founders of LeanLaw, and I'm currently the CEO. This is part of our multi-step. Here are some events that are coming up in the near future. We're trying to clip these along every 2 months towards the end of the year, ending the year with how to make 2023 your best year ever, and they're all part of this broader series. A few little things to talk about. LeanLaw, just so everyone understands, we are an invoicing, billing, accounting, and reporting platform built on top of QuickBooks Online, servicing small to mid-sized law firms. Our mission statement is to help law firms run better businesses. Something that we think about as a company, just so folks understand our thought process, is when we move forward and build our software, we think in terms of what can we automate, what can we integrate with, and what are the data opportunities with that. And it's the cross-section of those three things that really makes LeanLaw unique. It's our creativity, it's our joy. Our integration with QuickBooks is a personification of that. And the goal is that when we put these three things together, we should create some really amazing tools to help you and your team better serve law firms, and not just do their books, but help them run better businesses. I think our mission statements are aligned with this audience, is that we both, at the end of the day, want our clients to run better businesses and have that. So a few little announcements on LeanLaw. So just on the update front, I really want to focus mostly today on hiring. And the reason I'm focusing on that is because it speaks to where we're headed. We made investments in the latter part of 2021, and we continue in 2022 in hiring more human capital into our company to help us grow and operate better and to fulfill that mission. Two key hires that are addressable to this community is Nick Bauman. He is our Vice President of Product. He comes to us with a wealth of entrepreneurial and product management experience. Why he's important is that our engineering team prior to Nick's arrival was responsible for defining the product, facilitating the creation of the product, and actually making the product. And when you have few people doing many things, you don't do them well. So Nick's job is to take ownership of the LeanLaw product. So he's a great person to network with and interact with about features and things you need. The second thing that we added or elevated a current LeanLaw staff member is Chris Richards. He's Southwest focused. No, he's Southeast focused. He's in kind of the Tallahassee area. But anyways, I just said that because one of our folks here from Florida. What he's focused on is being a dedicated account management, highly, targeting our larger clients, but certainly there to support anyone who needs account management. So a focus of better servicing those clients. And it's not just, hey, how's it going, but really being an advocate and understanding what they need from the product and what they're doing. We continue moving forward on our agenda today with our weekly working lunch on Wednesdays. That's part of our LeanLaw Accounting Pro program, where we have a community of people that get together once a week and connect and have an informal conversation. Many times LeanLaw staff members will come and participate in that, so you can talk directly to folks, technically, sales, and otherwise. There is an LAP certification, Go for Gold. When this is on here because it's important to know that we have a LeanLaw Accounting Pro program. It's three tenets: our community, collaboration, and education. And the collaboration is around referrals, and getting that gold certification really helps us identify with those people who have strong knowledge of LeanLaw that we can give referrals to. The masterclass. So masterclass is Fred is our CTO and Chase is our head of customer success. They have a monthly class where they meet and review some enhancements in the product. It's really fun. And it is insightful as to not just how the products work, but how the product works and these features, but the value of those, how that means to your law firms. This month is going to have a drill down on compensation tracking with distributions. It's a new feature we've added and brought into the product. Not only do we track compensation for law firms now, we've built some workflow that then allows it to distribute it into QuickBooks so you can then bring it into payroll or cut checks. And then also the reporting that goes back. So I have a series of invoices that will receive payments in a certain month. We create a distribution. That money gets dispersed, and then we have the reporting associated with it. So that's another example of what can we automate, what can we integrate, and what the data reports are. That's completely in line with what we do. There's always the recap of this video posted on our blog, and you can also YouTube and find it. And we'd all love you to be part of our newsletter community. So use the chat tool, a little bit of housekeeping. Loren and I are going to want this to be as interactive as we possibly can make it in the context of this. And she just posted, let us know if you have any questions or just want to make a comment or add to the conversation. We can't open it up to everyone in the webinar format in video and voice because it would turn into mayhem, but certainly we really encourage you to contribute and participate via online. So let me okay, we talked about the web business here, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and go right back to Loren and I. And let's get on with our presentation. So Loren, I always want to first introduce you and have you tell the group a little bit about yourself and how you came to be a coach, a business coach, and specifically the niche in accounting. So could you introduce yourself to the group?
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. I first want to just welcome everybody and acknowledge that this is a busy time of year and that you have stepped away from working in your business right now to joining us, which is working on your business. And our intention is for you to even just take one thing that you can implement today into your practice to be able to elevate the services that you give to your client and just raise the bar of your accounting firm. So acknowledge you. Thank you for joining us and taking time away from your busy day. About me, I'm a sports psychologist turned business coach. And what I have found is that my education gave me the tools that I need to be able to do what I do really, really well with helping my clients being able to up-level what they do. However, it also prepared me to be an employee working for somebody else as opposed to a business owner or an employer. Because of that, I found I needed 3 core things in order to have my own business and one that actually supported my life instead of drained my life. I needed to figure out how to communicate my value, whether it's networking or on social media marketing or in other ways, and being more of an introvert than an extrovert. It was something, especially the networking part, that didn't come easily to me. The second thing I needed to figure out is how to enroll new clients when I don't really enjoy pitching my services or wanting to feel like I'm pressuring someone into working with me or chasing them. So how to be able to enroll new clients when I don't like the sales part. And that's why I've learned to have what I call a value conversation where you ask great questions instead of having to really go into a long reason as to why they ought to be hiring you. And then the third part is how to price my services when I didn't want to charge an hourly rate or trade dollars for hours. So those are the 3 things that I found I needed and that the accounting professionals I work closely with benefit from as well, is how to communicate value, how to be able to enroll new clients who are quality clients without having to pitch your services, and also how to be able to earn more once you separate your fees from time. And primarily, I work solely with accounting professionals, and I focus on the pricing part of it, as well as having a business that supports your life instead of draining your life. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, Jonathan.
Thanks, Loren. And I always think it's important that the folks know that Loren used to work as a sports psychologist, and there were some very interesting parallels between that. So she has a wide range of experience in dealing with very high performance individuals. We have a quick little poll here. We're going to do a lot of polls today. We have more polls than we've ever done. So if you get poll fatigue, I'm sorry, and we'll tweak it. But we were really excited to ask some questions today. So do you have an ideal client? This is really important setup for today's conversation. And I'll have the poll open for, 20, 30 seconds or until I get a certain percentage. Okay, most of you have clicked in. Let it go another few seconds. Okay. Well, the vast majority of you either work with several industries or defined your niche. Only a few of you said that you're very open to anyone who comes in the door. Loren, before we dive into today's content, I always want the setup question just so we have context. So last period we did Earn More with Cleanup Projects, the secrets to eliminate cleanup surprises. And we learned a lot about, how to structure that and what an opportunity cleanups really are, both financially and, kind of understanding who's your ideal client. And so today we're going to move into this communication about how to attract high value clients, but help us understand how this fits into the grander sequence of the overall positioning, pricing, a lot of P's, positioning, pricing, profits by working with law firms. So just give the audience a lead in to the grander scheme and how this one plays into the bigger picture of what we're talking about.
Well, I think that there's two reasons why we started off with the cleanups. One is it was a way to be able to zoom into something that is very specific to a particular function that you do. And the other part is that with the beginning of the year, there's tax season. You get a lot of people that are coming to you that need their financials caught up or cleaned up in order to be able to file their taxes. And this is going by starting off with that. It was something that you can immediately apply some of the things we talked about so that you can earn more money during tax season. So that's why we started with that, is we zoomed in on something that was very relevant and timely. And then now we get to really zoom out for the rest of the year on things that tend to be a little bit more strategic.
And one little note, just so you know, on May 5th, we're going to be doing another one of these webinars, the next one, and it's critical steps to raising your rates without losing your clients. Super important. LeanLaw just raised our rates and we had to communicate some value. So we're going to go deep dive into that next week, but we wanted to cover a little bit about pricing in this conversation. So Loren, because we want to take a step back before we can take a step forward, and you have a very strategic and very explicit pricing formula. So I think one of your mantras, which is how do you increase income without working additional hours? So can you walk the group through that formula? And again, we're going to deep dive into it in May and make a whole webinar out of it, but it has some context here.
Definitely. Part of what I focus on is what I call the raise your rates formula. There's 5 parts to it. And even if you just take the essence of it and apply it, you will start to be able to increase your revenues without having to work additional hours. The very first step is looking at having more quality clients, because as you know, in the beginning, you're working with a wide range of clients. Some of them you realize are low value, others are high value. And the more high value clients that you have that appreciate you, respect you, are not price sensitive, puts you strongly on the path to having your dream firm. So that's the very first step, is understanding who are your quality clients versus your low value clients, and how to be able to go about dealing with that so that you have more high value clients that you're working with. Step number 2, which we're doing a deep dive into today, is communicating your value, because I have found that that is one of the biggest challenges that accounting professionals have, is what you do is important to your clients. It makes a difference. However, being able to explain it to them in a way that they realize your value is sometimes not very easy or obvious to you. And that's why we're really taking a deep dive into that topic today, is the better that you can become at communicating your value, the more likely you will then be enrolling those dream clients into working with you. So they definitely go hand in hand. Number 3 is packaging your services. By bundling your services together, you're no longer offering a long a la carte list on your webpage of different services. You're now bundling things together that achieve a particular outcome. And this is the first step to start separating your fees from time. The other thing about packaging your services that I do with my clients when we develop their packages is we're looking at the things that you currently do for your clients that you don't get compensated for. And we're bringing those into your packages. So you're now paid for things that you don't know how to charge for. Number 4 is value pricing. This is what we're going to look at in our next webinar on May 5th, is how to start to increase your fees without losing clients. So if that is something that you've been thinking about, it's been on your mind for a long time, you're ready to get that done, then join us on May 5th and we'll show you how to earn potentially 2 to 3 times more without losing any clients and without working any additional hours, because I don't want you trading your personal time in order to bring in more revenues in your accounting firm. And then number 5 is consultation mastery. This is how to be able to have initial consultations with potential new clients when you don't like the sales part, you don't want to pitch your services, and when you get to the close, it feels uncomfortable because you feel like you're pressuring someone, you don't like objections, and you're not really sure how to handle that in a confident manner. So those are the 5 steps to the Raise Your Rates formula, which is quality clients, communicate your value. Number 3 is package your services. Number 4 is value pricing, and 5 is consultation mastery.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. What we find at LeanLaw is that we are constantly toggling in our sales communication between what we do and the value of what we do. And it's interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about it later about who you're speaking to. You sometimes have to tweak your messaging. Okay, I said there were a lot of polls. Here's another poll. Want to keep everyone on their toes. Do you confidently communicate your value? And confidently, you can be, this is anonymous, so you can answer honestly what you really think. We don't know who's saying what. Okay, we're 80%.
And I also want to say, if you have any questions about that, put it in the chat so that we can make sure that we address that, or just send a private question over to Jonathan, and that way we can go ahead and make sure that we answer that during today's conversation.
Well, I think we hit something here, Loren, in this question, because, you know, 89% of the group, the majority of it, either identified as struggling with it or there's room for improvement, which those two are almost the same answer. I think Loren and I are not the greatest poll writer poll writers, but the point is that the vast majority of you say that there's room for improvement in this domain. So,
and I added it to the chat. Do you find sales and marketing painful?
Yeah, who doesn't? Sales is painful. At least I find it. I mean, it's hard. I'm a huge advocate of my product, and I'm very prideful of it. But it's still hard to actually go in and ask for the business and really do that work. So let's talk about messaging mistakes. You know, we're always sort of toggling and working against attracting, you know, low versus high value clients. So why don't you just kind of coach us through some of the things that you think are maybe not the most optimal things that people say in their messaging, right? That, you know, that what are some of the mistakes that people make as they do this?
Well, I think the first thing I want to just clarify, which you mentioned, is that I hear from so many accounting professionals that they want to work with quality clients, but they tend to attract price-sensitive clients. And if anybody has that experience, go ahead and just say yes, or how often that happens to you, and put that in the chat as well. But some of the things that I did prior to preparing for today's conversation is I went on some random various accounting websites, whether it's accounting, tax, bookkeeping, and just pulled some text right from the websites. And I wanted to be able to share that with you to give you some insights. And if you're doing any of these things, it's okay, no judgment. And if you want to change it, you might be able to have some insights as to why you want to change it. So the very first one is we provide affordable solutions. I want to say, as soon as you put affordable solutions in your copy, then that is like the green light for price-sensitive clients to want to reach out to you, because they think that they will be able to get as much from you as possible and pay as little as possible for those services. So think about the word affordable. It actually is like code word for cheap and attracts price-sensitive clients. The next one is we help you run your book smarter. I want to let you know that by doing that and leading with that, it focuses on the tactics of what you do as opposed to your expertise of knowing how to do it correctly. So when you're focusing on running your book smarter, you're focusing on the technical aspects and the functions as opposed to the outcomes your clients receive because they have smarter books. And then the next one is every client of ours gets free year-round tax advice. This one,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm posting these because I want people to read it. You say it once, but I want them to really hear it, because before you even get into this tax one, I think what you just said was so astute about helping people run their books smarter, and how that, that's a tactical versus a value. So I'm posting the phrases in here so people can really listen and hear the phrase and then hear your analysis of it.
Sure. With free year-round tax advice, from a client's perspective, they are willing to pay you more because of what you know. And when you focus on what you do, the functions is actually less value. That's commoditized. So this particular tax firm gives away their highest value for free because they don't realize that. They think people are coming to them just to get taxes done and file. But the thing is that high value clients not just want to file on time, they want to avoid any unexpected tax surprises or bills that come up at the end of the year. They want to be able to lower their tax bills. They want to have peace of mind at tax season. They want to have insights from you as to what they can do to be able to really keep as much in their pockets instead of giving it to Uncle Sam or to whichever government agency you pay your taxes to. So I want to just let you know, free year-round tax advice gives away your highest value that people will happily pay a premium price for. The next one is—
Hold on, I want to make one comment. Just one comment in my experience with law, because I want some context here. Lawyers are not price sensitive if they understand the value, because they also offer professional services. You really need to keep that in mind. Their own business is similar to yours. And it's important to understand they're not price sensitive, and it's important to understand that they see the value in their insight. And it kind of goes into what Loren's saying, is that if you give free tax advice, you're giving away your value, and the lawyer would never give away their value. They would never say, we'll give you free year-round compliance advice. They would say, you're welcome to, ask questions and maybe come up with a plan for that. So just recognize that they are in alignment in terms of their service. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to bring that up.
You brought up a good point, and I just want to give an example. One of the bookkeepers who works with attorneys that also uses LeanLaw, what happened before we started working together was that she was focusing on the technical aspects and giving away a lot of this advice also. So maybe a year's worth of services with her was $5,000, and she was doing a year's worth of bookkeeping. She was consulting with them and all of that. And she was rolling the cleanup into her monthly services. So she was cleaning up their books as she was doing their monthlies. And then by us repositioning and focusing on her expertise, because not only was she doing the accounting and bookkeeping for clients, but she's a licensed attorney in 4 states as well and has her own law firm. So she knows both sides of the business. We repositioned her as that expert, understanding what law firms need from the accounting and the financials, but also how to be able to have a successful law firm. And by that, she was taking what she was doing originally for $5,000 a year And now she is getting $40,000 a year for the same services. No difference in the amount of work. In fact, she's probably working less because she has a team now, but she just positioned it differently on what the attorneys valued as opposed to the functions of what she did. So just wanted to be able to reframe and reinforce what point you were making, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think that's really astute, and it's again, lawyers will pay for value, but they'll always price shop for a commodity. So there's always a business smarts about buying what they think is something transactionally or something that's commoditized, but they will always pay more for what they perceive as some type of value that is unique, that they can't get in the market. And then it becomes very non-price sensitive. In LeanLaw, we do the same. One last example, and then because we don't want to digress. Yeah. I just hired a sales coach, and I thought this sales coach was very expensive. But the reason why I thought that this sales coach was worth it is because he positioned himself as being a SaaS sales coach with legal domain expertise. And so the fact that he positioned himself that way, I was willing to pay him almost 30% more because I see the value in his insight. If he just said sales coach, or, I do these things, here's these 3 things I'll do, it's a commodity, and I'd go look elsewhere. So, okay, the next one was no matter, I think you're on no matter.
No matter what your accounting or tax needs are, we are here to help, which lets me know that you are a generalist. You're trying to capture everyone and anyone that has skin and breathes. The next one is we do AP, AR, HR, and payroll. Well, I want to say this is obvious to you because this is industry lingo. However, if I am a lay person that has a business coming to your website, I might not actually know what AP, AR, and HR actually are, even though I can use them. And as a result of that, I'm bouncing off of your website, going to someone else because the fact that someone else might have actually spelled it out for me. So just realize that not everybody understands what those acronyms mean, even though they could benefit from that service. And then let me go on the last one because I want to make sure.
I hear what you're saying and I agree with it, but also I think this is as obvious as saying, I'm going to Jiffy Lube and we do oil changes. Like, that's inferred. I'm going to the doctor and they're going to, it's like, and this should, I think people lead with this, and this is all about the commodity. If you're leading with AP, AR, HR, whether you confuse them on acronyms or whether you think that is what you do and immediately you're commoditizing yourself. Well, I can get someone else who does AP and HR and payroll for this price. What do you charge? Right? Because now all you're doing is having a conversation of what you do, not the value that you bring. This is, to me, the most widely used. These are our services, and it's one of the most damaging ones to the value conversation. Here's your last one.
And the last one was we work with small business, medium business, and not-for-profits. Well, basically that is everyone. Even if you say that we work with solo attorneys, small law firms, and large law firms, what a large law firm needs versus a solo practitioner are very different things. And so that might not be specialized enough either. But you're trying to capture everyone at that point. So that is pretty much it.
Yeah, Rhonda just wrote, sometimes when you don't have a plan for the sales call, I think what you're saying, and maybe you could elaborate, is that's, to me, if you go into a sales call and you don't have intentionality, there's two real problems. One is you don't understand what it is you're selling, and you certainly don't understand the intentionality of that call. Meaning, something we're working on here is that in every client interaction pre-sales, we would hope that there's some understanding of where they are in the cycle. We would hope that you know who you're talking to, and I don't mean just the person, but their role and how they influence the decision. And we hope that you have some explicit intentionality of what you want to achieve in that call. You will never get your ideal client unless you go through a proper discovery. But anyways, that's a different subject.
And Jonathan, actually, number 4 in our series on July 14th is 5 steps to winning a new client, even when you don't enjoy the sales part. And that will go into that initial consultation.
Good pickup there, Lauren. Oh, all right. So we're just rolling along, aren't you and I today? So how does the golden rule apply to marketing and communicating value? So what's the
Well,
golden rule, first of all?
the golden rule is you before me. And what I want to say is that when you are client-centered and you really think about your clients, what they care about, you're relational more than transactional, then it makes a difference in how they interact with you and the value that they see of working with you. It means that you're not leaving the client experience to chance. And there's three parts of the golden rule to marketing and communicating value that lets them know that you are relational, not just transactional. And if you know what your clients love about you, go ahead and put that in the chat. We'd love to hear what your clients love about your accounting firm. But the very first part to the golden rule is benefits and focusing on benefits from their point of view. What do they enjoy about working with you, or what is possible because they have you taking care of their financials and they're now accurate and up to date. So it's putting what is important to them before what's important to you. The second part is solutions, because as you know, we are now a society of immediacy. We don't like a long, painful, drawn out process. And if you can let them know that you can deliver solutions faster, better, and easier, then that has value to them. It's why people will pay for Amazon Prime, is because they don't want to get the $25 minimum for free delivery and they want it delivered in 1 to 2 days. Or why people will FedEx a contract overnight instead of ground delivery when it needs to be there within a certain amount of time. So show them, talk about solutions and faster, better, and easier. And the third part is being future focused, because one of the things that you want to think about constantly is how you can add value to your clients, especially if they are attorneys, how you can add value to them, how you can help them, support them. This means you want to know what their goals and aspirations are. And it reinforces the change that's going on with the accounting industry anywhere, way of taking primarily after the fact work that you do, whether it's bookkeeping, taxes, or or accounting management in general, and pairing it with something that is future focused and important to them, which is their goals. So how can you maybe look at forecasting or tracking certain KPIs that would be specific to that particular law firm? So those are the three things of the golden rule, and how you can start to communicate it is focus on the benefits, which is you before them, but which is them before you, solutions of letting them know how you're faster, better, easier, and also talking about what's important to them. And that is usually of where they're going instead of where they're at.
So when you and I were preparing for this, I had a thought here, and I think it's really important. And I'm going to ask to the group before I kind of pitch this. Do you, when you're talking to your clients, have a context of what a sales persona is versus a user persona? So this kind of yes and no in that question. When you're talking to your clients and doing your sort of sales work, do you have the concept of a sales persona, especially as it fits into a law firm? Because we're talking about benefit solutions and future focus, and Loren has heavily focused on the attorney, as if you're small, speaking to a small law office. But when I talk about a persona and a sales persona, it's really an identification of an individual in the law office that is part of your sales process. And in law firms, especially in larger law firms, but even in smaller ones, there are two dominant sales personas. One is the attorney managing partner. That person is charged with either owning the firm, running the firm. They have their own practice that they need to think about, but they also have the overall, hey, is this law firm operating correctly? They have responsibility for the firm, their own practice, and the staff and the business of the firm. The second is the the law firm operator. And that could be in a very small firm, a paralegal. That could be someone who is in a larger firm, a controller, a CFO, other accounting staff. Basically, it's someone who's doing the day-to-day operations. And we see this often. And what happens is that the operations persons, when they're talking to you, is really having a conversation about workflow, and you're trying to extract out, well, what are they doing today relative to accounting and invoicing? And it's a very operationally minded conversation. And basically your value there is saying, hey, you're going to offload stuff to me and my business so that you can do better and bigger things to help the business from a project management, client support, paralegal activities, right? That's a totally different conversation than talking to that managing partner about what Loren was just speaking to in terms of aspirational qualities. The idea of where they want to grow the business and how you can help them run a better business. And it's really important that when you're talking to those different personas, no, you cannot ignore some of the tactical things when talking to an attorney, but they kind of don't care, right? It's not their most important thing. They want to understand the value of what you're bringing. And the value of running a better business isn't the most important thing to the paralegal. So it's important to understand the sensitivity to in knowing who you're talking to in the sales personas, and tweak your conversation and even some of your follow-ups, your emails and whatnot. So anyways, I just wanted to highlight those are the two specific personas that at least LeanLaw is operating with and interacting with in our sales process. There's some other ancillary people, but they're not as important. Okay, so this is an interesting one, and I remember when we first talked about this last year, I was like, huh? When we started talking about this. So niche and specialties are often confused. So, you know, what's the difference, and why is it important?
Mm-hmm. And Jonathan, why don't you go ahead and launch that poll while I answer that?
Oh, we have a poll.
Because they kind of go coincide.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that one.
No, that's okay.
There it goes. So
perfect.
Pause on your answer. Let them really focus on the poll. What best describes your firm? You guys can see that we're very clearly, first, we're very poll centric today, and we're really trying to understand how you represent your firm. All right,
and as they're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and answer your question. Is that there's a difference between a niche and a specialty, and it took a while for me to wrap my mind around it and get it as well. Basically, a niche is who you serve. It could be a demographic. It could be also that persona. It could be a personality or qualities of who you like to work with best, those dream clients, because you could say you have a niche of law firms, but maybe you work with criminal lawyers better than you work with divorce lawyers because they have certain different personality characteristics that will appeal to one versus the other, or possibly that you like people that come to the meetings and have questions to ask versus people that just want you to tell them what to do. So that's something to think about. Is the niche is who you serve. It could be personality characteristics, and it could be demographics as well. The specialty is what you do. What is it that you do for those law firms and attorneys? And that is the specialty. So for you, it would be in some way about financials. Maybe it's increasing their collections, or possibly being able to make sure that their financials are on track and accurate so that they have insights as they're growing their firms and they're making better decisions, and they're not writing off as much at the end of each month because of collections are too far out. So those are some of the things to look at. Is the niche is who you serve, and the specialty is what you do.
So do you think this is right when I say this, Loren? LeanLaw's niche is legal, and I know our specialties, but our specialty is QuickBooks integration, trust accounting, and compensation tracking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But I think what I would say is that when you look at that part of it, it's still focusing on the functions, what is possible because of them having those insights, or you doing that for them.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're a software company, so there is a certain checkbox you do that. But you're right, the compensation tracking, there's a value conversation around compensation tracking. There's a value conversation there. Our QuickBooks integration is. I mean,
maybe you increase revenues and increase the hourly billing rate, and you reduce turnover of partners, associates. So
we think Yeah, we think that like compensation tracking creates, creates transparency and creates data transparency, which is a function of retaining staff
Yes.
and whatnot. So just to report back on the poll so the group can hear what it is. 22% of you said generalized services. So you're just like we're not niched or anything. 44% that they specialize in a specific problem. 22% define themselves as a niche, and only one person, one entity said that they have a niche and a specialty. So kind of moving off of that point, now that we have some context between a niche and a specialty, where should, it's interesting because where should accounting professionals focus their messaging? Because I just said, okay, well, it's LeanLaw this way, and you were like, well, here's this and that. So you immediately started crafting my messaging and making me think about that. So now to this group, what guidance do you give them on that question?
Okay, what I want to say is that so often you're thinking about, okay, what should I post? What should I talk about in my network meetings? You don't know what to do. So I'm giving you 4 different aspects or variants on messaging that you could do, whether it is posting or whether it is speaking at network meetings that you go to on a regular basis. The first one is identify. This is where you're discussing their needs, and just focus on that one thing in your messaging for that week, whether it is on social media or at network meetings. Know the needs of your clients, their headaches, what keeps them up at night, what are their aspirations that they can't move forward on because they're stuck and they don't have accurate financials. So just talk about those headaches. And then the second type of message is instruct. Now you're sharing solutions. And I want to know, go ahead and generously share. Just like we're generously sharing here. I'm not holding back on anything. I want you to have this information and benefit from hearing it and being able to apply it. Because I believe it's okay to give away the store. You will never give away the entire mall. Yeah. So go ahead and share your solutions. The next thing is inform. Inform is letting them know how you're qualified. Is it that you have 25 years of accounting experience? Maybe you have an MBA as well as your licensed CPA. Possibly you earned some awards or achievements, or you have the LAP Gold Standard emblem on your website. So let them know how you're qualified and why you're qualified to be doing this. The other thing is Illuminate. Illuminate is going back to that future-focused messaging, where you're taking what you do, which is primarily after the fact, and you're also painting the picture of future potential. Illuminate that future potential of what they want to achieve, and that they're able to get there easier, faster, or better because of the fact they have you working with them, and that they have more accurate insights into the financials of their firm than if they didn't have you on their side. So those are the 4 things: is identify, instruct, inform, and eliminate. And I want to just share how Bill was able to apply this. He does a lot of local networking in his community. He's very, very involved. And what Bill was originally doing was just talking about the functions of accounting and bookkeeping. And that was pretty much what he was focusing on during those meetings. We went ahead and shifted it to these 4 things, where he started talking about the pain points that his specific clients have. He was able to then share solutions of what he puts in place to be able to remove those pain points so they're no longer stuck or tolerating something. He informed them about why he was qualified, his years in the accounting profession, as well as having an MBA. And then he also illuminated of what those clients were able to achieve because of the fact that he was working with them, and how they were able to move forward, and even some of them exceed their goals or increase their revenues 2 to 3 times, or have a faster build out, or whatever it was. And because by doing that, he actually brought in an additional $10,000 in new business in the course of 30 days, because he stopped focusing on the functions and the tasks of what he does, and really creating that story of how his clients could benefit. And that drove new business to him.
Yeah, and I think that storytelling is really, really hard to master, but because I think we get caught up in the how, what it is versus the value and the why, and some of the, as you say, the illuminating, painting that picture. I know that, like, when we were talking about LeanLaw, we struggle in our sales process to rise out of, well, how it works and into the value, because if they don't see the value, it kind of doesn't matter if it, how do I say this? It's you can never win the client unless they see the value, and you can get caught up in a weedy conversation very quickly about how it works. And I had this happen in a sales meeting just last week, where this woman wanted to say, well, tell me how this is going to work this way, as if that was the most important thing. And I had to pull the lens back and say, hey, we can do that in another meeting, but let's focus on the bigger picture so you can get a sense of what the opportunity is here. And that was a struggle, because she really was, like, narrowly focused. Okay, we got to keep going. And I'm very excited to talk about this. So let's stop and talk about how a purple cow applies to marketing. I remember you said this yesterday, and I was like, what is a purple cow? So Loren, first of all, what is a purple cow and how does it apply to marketing?
Okay, think about the fact that it is a beautiful Sunday afternoon and you are driving in the country. You're passing lots and lots of dairy farms where there's brown and white and black cows. And then all of a sudden you see a purple cow. First of all, you might do a double take to make sure you really saw that. And then you're going to pull your car over. You're going to get out your phone. You might even take a selfie with the cow, post on social media, and that picture goes viral. And that is because that purple cow is so different from all the other cows that you were passing that it stood out, even though it's just one, as opposed to the thousands of them. And that is what we want to have in your marketing, is something that grabs attention, where people are going to stop and want to know more. So that is basically how a purple cow applies to marketing. And Seth Godin actually wrote the book on the purple cow, and you can find it if you go anywhere on the internet. Put in Seth Godin purple cow, and he will go further into that.
Yeah, I'm going to clip along here, and we have a question, so we want to make sure that we have two more topics we want to get to before we wrap up. So let's make sure we clip through this. So emotions are really important, right? In marketing and in sales, people want to buy people. How does this apply to accounting services, which is, how the conversation can be personal, it's money. How do you kind of coach people through having this intimate conversation around, a lawyer's finances?
Well, the first thing is to recognize that Microsoft did a survey, and 90% of your potential clients actually are considering the client relationship when deciding to do business with your firm. But to recognize that you are dealing with people's money, and people have stuff around money, including in their business. And so many people have bookkeeping and financial shame. Because of that, money can be a hot topic. And even though you are an accounting professional and you're not a therapist, you might be doing some financial therapy with some of your clients to get them more comfortable with the money part of their business. So some of the things to recognize is that by them realizing that you really understand them and you do care, the relationship part, that earns you trust. And it develops rapport so they feel a connection with you. And to also recognize what is it that is top of mind for your clients that they want to achieve, because the fact that they are having you do their financials. And some of the things that my clients have told me that their clients care about is an office expansion sooner than planned, covering their bills on time, reducing their taxes, having peace of mind about their financials. That goes back into the financial shame, and worrying about having some money come in so that they can make payroll next week. Eliminating money leaks in their business, because as you know, so many clients probably have redundancies or things that they're paying for as far as subscriptions that they're not using. Removing financial shame which I already mentioned. And the other thing is lightening their workload. So those are some of the things that are top of mind that your clients want to have, and that by you working with them, you can help them with that and also feel more educated and that they understand their cash flow and their money. They don't have the shame around it any longer.
I'm gonna add one little thing, and then I'm gonna be very efficient. I talked about the two sales personas. That operating sales persona, there's a lot of emotion around change, process change, workflow change. Are you taking my job change? That kind of thing. And that can create a lot of tension in the conversation, not so much with the owner. So Loren, all of these processes are valuable, but I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what's help the audience understand the first step in answering the questions for themselves, meaning, what's their value, right? You can't really express it externally until you do it internally. So what's the first step for them?
First, I went ahead and put a resource to attract high value clients in the chat. It's at businesssuccesssolution.com/attraction. And that is there for you to give you some additional things that complement what we're talking about. But if you want to understand the value from your client's point of view, then I think the best thing that you can do is ask them. Think about one or two of your favorite clients and see if they'll have a short meeting with you, which they are usually very happy to do, where you're asking them, what were some of the challenges you were dealing with that made you want to reach out to us? And you might be able to know that already anyway, but ask them to get it in their own words. What have been the benefits of us working with your firm? And really pay attention to how they're saying it in their words, because that matters. And then also what's been possible because of the fact that we're working with your firm. You want to understand those three things because it gives you some insights as to the headaches that they have that make you want to reach out to you, because people don't just reach out to and get new accounting professionals when things are good enough or status quo. We have high tolerance levels and we're very busy. Also, you want to hear from them what they see as the benefits, because what they value might be different than what you value about that. And then what's been possible for them. What have they been able to do because of the fact that they have accurate insights and you are helping them with their financials. So those are the three things you want to focus on. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it in a one-to-one conversation, just send an email to some of your clients or your whole list if you have an email list, and ask them those three questions and see what responses you get back. So you can either have a conversation with a couple people or else you can send an email blast to everybody.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say, if you don't have law clients and you really want to understand a little bit about law, well, that's not that. Never mind. I was thinking a different thought. Okay. Here's our last poll. It's not our last poll. It's our second to last poll. We have never done this one before, but Loren and I were ideating around it, and we really wanted, what we're trying to get a sense is of the value of this webinar. So we wanted to ask a very direct question. Which is, how interested are you talking to Loren about high value clients? And this is anonymous. We're not going to like sell your list, and Loren's not going to be like, calling you up saying, hi there.
Stalking anybody.
We just talked 5 minutes ago. Let's talk now. Okay, I'm going to close this in just a minute. Okay. The majority of you said it looks interesting. So I always ask this question, Loren, just in summary. We've covered a lot of information, and what do they do next? And I want to answer it in two parts. I know you put the success solution, let's talk, and I know that's part of what you're going to say. So that's one option to go using your resources, but I want you to synthesize it down. And if they were to walk away and go do one task from everything that we did today, what would you encourage them to do independently? And then, of course, interacting with you.
I think that the one question, I would ask you to maybe keep one question, maybe even post on a sticky note when meeting with potential clients, or when you're thinking about your messaging and your marketing, is how can I add value? And if you really just start to think about that, how can I add value, and really think about doing that in your marketing and your messaging, where it's a give, because that follows the golden rule of give before you take, or when you're meeting with potential clients and you actually ask them that question, then I think that that will start to be a game changer for you.
Yeah, that's great. Now, let's talk about if they want to engage and do some more work with you.
If you felt that you got something valuable from our time together today and you wanted to have a further conversation on how to be able to increase your revenues without adding to your workload, then let's have a dedicated conversation. You can go to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. We can set up a meeting to be able to talk about your accounting firm and how to be able to raise your rates, increase your revenues, and get more of those dream clients.
Wonderful. So last, I said there was one more poll. This is it. A very simple poll. I know you're all poll fatigued. We won't do so many polls next time. There were too many. But I want to ask a very simple question: is how would you rate it? We tried to make it very simple. And so thank you all for your comments and participation. Loren, as we're ending here, thank you for your collaboration. This was fun. This was a very animated conversation, two of us. I told Loren before we came in here I had a bit of a headache, but I ignored it for an hour because this was such a fun conversation. So thank you all for being part of our community. Thank you all for attending this webinar and allowing us to share our insights with you over this last hour. And thank you, Loren, for your continued collaboration. I appreciate it. No other questions from the group. We were totally positive everyone liked it. And have a great day.